workshop on salary increase questions in Sheriff's Office, Jail, and Clerk, October 8, 2020. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Commissioner Bartleman.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Parker.
Here.
And Judge Clymer.
Here. Mr. Bartleman, you offer a prayer, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather to do the work of this county. Father, we just pray you be with us as we make decisions that it will be the best interest not only for the employees of this county, but mainly for the citizens of this county. Father, we just pray for our law enforcement officers, our first responders, and others. Just give them safety as they perform their duties and give them guidance and direction in all that they do. Father, we're just so appreciative of what you do for us. As in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. And stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, just as a little preface, our mission today is to try to determine what amounts of money to distribute for salary increases in the Sheriff's Office, Jail, and County Clerk Office, who gets what and when. We adopted our last fiscal court meeting resolution setting forth, among other things, initial amounts of money for the departments and some timelines. We also voted for a small property tax increase to generate revenue for salary increases in those departments. I think it's good to remember, and I'm sure we all agree, that a foundational principle of this fiscal court is to maintain our credibility and integrity so that the public and our employees know that we do what we say and we'll do what we say, that they can count on us to do that. The resolution provides the property tax increased revenue and any other funds available to go to the Sheriff's Office, the jail, and the county clerk salaries in January of next year, of 2021. We project a $176,000 income from the property tax increase. With pension costs being approximately half of the salary, that leaves about $117,000 for salary to distribute January, this January. The resolution also sets out an intent of at least $400,000 for salary for those offices on July 1, funded by insurance tax revenue and other sources. And then there's an intent in the resolution to review finances next November to see if there are funds available to pay an additional $250,000 in January 22. So that's $176,000 in 3 months, another $400,000 7 months later, and then an intent of another $250,000 more in January of 22. So totaling $826,000 in 18 months. And so the resolution says only that we have the intent to put more than 176 into salary increases, not that we will, but I have a concern that the resolution is really a firm commitment to do or not do something, and it sets an expectation in these employees that these dollars will be distributed, and they plan accordingly. New car, bigger house, whatever, buying things they might not have been able to do otherwise. And so if we set that expectation and we fail to meet the expectation, it's seen as a failure, not of what we hoped we would be able to do, but really people don't look at those details, I think, sometimes, and they think, well, we said we'd do it, so why didn't we do it? It's kind of like the wedding vow. I promise to love you forever if I can. And so there's problems with that sort of thing too. But I think we have to make sure that we just reinforce that this is a aspirational thing, and hopefully we can do it. We believe we can, so we got to go forward with that. All that to say this, I think to be fiscally responsible and at the same time give deserved and necessary raises to those offices. We start in January with the 176, as the resolution says. We affirm that we'll do our best. We hope we will try to do more as the resolution puts forward. But I think that we may have to spread this timeline out a bit. And I know that there was some talk about whether that'd be necessary or not. But I just feel like the 826 in 18 months is quite ambitious, given her other obligations and other asks totaling many millions. But I just don't have confidence we can succeed at that pace, but we can, I think, in another year or two. But then what I'm getting at is I just feel like we first apply the raises where the need is the greatest. Then we continue on with a plan to meet those other areas as soon as we can. The employee expectation then is that soon, maybe not right now, but very soon, my wages will increase as promised. And so I think it's important that, as written in the resolution, that we will try. We think that we can find other funds, and we're putting it as a priority to put funds toward these raises. And so people, our employees particularly, don't lock in on the fact that, hey, you said you're going to do this, where's that other money? And we say, well, our resolution was that we were going to make our best efforts to do that. Any thoughts, any comments about that?
Judge, I think that's an accurate assessment on the intent of the resolution, what we want to do. It sets a goal, but I think everybody hopefully will realize if the funds aren't there, we can't do it. So, and other priorities will come into play. So I think you accurately assess what the intent is. It's not beyond this first increase. The others are dependent upon actual revenue. So I think you accurately reflected what the intent of that is.
Anything else on that? Steve Doolittle and I looked through the asks, the documents that each of the offices has provided, and I didn't, he didn't. I don't know if you gentlemen saw anything in the documents as a whole. I'm talking about the pay and grade increases and that sort of thing, at what levels and that sort of thing. We have the elected officers, the jailer, the sheriff, and the clerk here. But it appears to me, unless you just want to hear from them, or if they really want to address us, we've heard from them. Now we've seen from them in pretty detailed form what they think how they want to spend that money, how they want to distribute it among employees. It seems to me like we could perhaps be efficient in going forward with addressing those things. But if either any of you want to question them, they're here about how they want to distribute it, or if they want to address us again on this, we'll give a few minutes to do that. Maybe do you commissioners have any questions of those elected officers, the jailer, the sheriff, or the clerk?
I mean, I think they've given us all a lot of information and gave us a lot of insight on where they want to go with their numbers and what they want to do. I think we need to, like I said, try to do the best job we can to get there.
What about?
Well, I just remember the sheriff saying he wanted to sit at the table, so I want to make sure, and I think that's appropriate. And I guess I guess I come to this meeting thinking that probably and hopefully there's been some discussion between Steve and the constitutional officers about how to apply their money.
Yeah.
Were we going to be able to add any money to the revenue estimate from the new tax? At one time, I think Steve had recommended a figure higher than 178,000. Are we able to go beyond that, or is that where we're going to limit it? And
Well, the resolution is all the money from that.
right, plus
we just
others if it's available. But Steve had a recommendation earlier that we go higher than that if we approve the increase. Are we going to be able to go higher? Or are you going to? Are you?
Your resolution took a slightly different approach than I did. I said move the entire budget $350,000, including benefits, and pay for it for the next 6 months with so 350 over a half a year is 175,000,
Okay.
and pay for that with a 4%, and you would adjust the entire structure 350,000. The resolution said take this money now and distribute it into costs. So I think it was just a slightly different approach. But it uses the same figure.
Okay.
It's the same. The only area you have available in the general fund is we budgeted $500,000 for contingencies. We've had some contingencies already. I think we've committed about 70,000, we're going to be in about that range already, and we're just past the first quarter of the fiscal year. We typically do use our contingencies. If you wanted to take a small portion of that, that would probably be okay. 25% of it's no more than that.
Well, 178,000, will that be allocated based on an annual increase or a 6-month increase?
The way the resolution reads, that's permanent and annual.
Right, and that's what you had recommended. It's a little bit
Yeah.
different, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Same, basically, with what you had recommended. Okay. Thank you.
I'd see the resolution as setting the minimum that we have to do.
Right.
We get, I thought it was 176? I was thinking 170. Or you were saying 178, it's 176.
Well, whatever the number was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was whatever the revenue estimate is from
Yeah,
the.
we think around 176. Of course, that's salary and benefits.
Right.
And so I think the salary was 117. And so we're working with a little smaller number than, well, benefits being about half the cost of what the salary is. So 176, I think, came to 117 in actual salary. But yeah, I mean, nothing to say we couldn't. Maybe we underestimated. Maybe it comes in at 200 or something, and by the resolution, all 200 would go to salaries in these offices.
Yeah.
So, jailer, sheriff, Madam Clerk, any of you, I think we've heard plenty, but if y'all had something else you want to add, I don't want to, not listen to what you have to say.
I don't particularly have anything to add that I hadn't well with the previous.
Okay. Sheriff?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good. Okay. And so, again, I looked at, you gentlemen have had those presentations, documents from each of those 3 offices for some time. I think it would be a good way, maybe it's not the best, maybe it is, to just go address those as being for each department, how this money would be divided, and go forward from there. You want to approach it a different way, or?
Okay, so 175,000 on a 4% increase, give or take. Now, are we putting any money with it or no?
Not for the resolution, not
Well, I
at this time.
understand not the resolution, but are we putting any money with it at all?
Well, was the lone dissenter on the resolution. I didn't, was not in favor of it myself, but if we're not gonna go by it and we're gonna put more on it, again, I think it's a minimal. I mean, we could put more, but what was the fight about then, I guess? Not fight, discussion. Conversation is a popular word. We had that conversation.
I guess I had figures in my head, it was adding a little to it, but I mean, and that would have to come out of the contingency.
The resolution allows for that. It says that 4% plus other funds that are available, might be available. So, I mean, if we want to add to it, I mean, it's covered under the resolution.
But we've got another number we're working with just in 6 more months.
Yeah.
I guess.
I had a little less than what Steve had originally said. In January, I was looking like 250,000, which would be probably 75,000 more than the resolution, and that would come out of the contingency.
Yeah.
And we'd split it up in.
Well, I mean, this is about to bat this around. My personal preference would be to stick to the 176 because I think we got a pretty good grip on that's going to be real close to the revenue there. I'm not at all comfortable with the projections of where we're going to be in 6 months or a year. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we'll be much better off than I think we are. But as I said in the fiscal court meeting, we've got a lot of requests from a lot of different, about every direction. The airport looks like they're going to ask for $3.5 million from us, and the ball fields, outside fields, and that sort of thing that we know is coming fairly quickly. It would seem to me to be the most responsible thing to do to stick to that 176 initially. Again, we're reviewing again. Let's see, the next one is January, and so we're October. So 3 months down the road, we're going to look and see if there's more money. In fact, 3 months down the road, January, at least 400,000.
July, that's July.
That's July, right. There is no, the 176 is for January.
I was getting kind of confused there. Okay, I understand it now. 176 is January, and that's what I wanted to add a little bit to.
Yeah.
And Commissioners, when you say July, for Pam and I, that means those decisions are going to be made in March and April.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to stick to our resolution path, just because that path has 2 more steps that we're not sure we can make. And I don't want.
I'd be comfortable with just going with the 4% in January. Then that might make it easier for us to meet the goal for July.
Right.
Because if we had another 70, if we find we could have afforded that, we can add that, and that helps us to meet the July 1st goal.
Yeah.
So I'd be comfortable leaving it at the estimate from the, as a starting point, the estimate from the 4%.
Yeah.
So that makes our budget amendment kind of easy. So we're going to amend 176 in the 4%. Now we just got to figure out how to split up the 176.
Then in July, according to the resolution, increases on July 1 of at least 400,000. Of course, in addition to the 176 July, and then in January of 2022, so a year and whatever, 4 months, or 2 months from now, an additional 250,000. So that's that 876 total in 18 months, I think it was. And so that's, I think that's pretty aggressive. But if we're good with starting out with sticking to the resolution for January, the 176, and understanding that that's going to be actually 117 half of half of 176. That's not right.
About 2/3.
Yeah, right, correct.
Yeah, 2/3. Would it actually go to
117,
salary? Yeah, 117, I think's the
And
number.
then 56 on
So, Madam Clerk gave us a number when she was presenting, started with 13, as I recall. And I assume that was not benefits. Did that include benefits?
No.
No. So we need, if we use her number, and
Her benefits are much lower.
and I was going to say it's less than a 1.5. So will 17,000 give Madam Clerk enough money to make the raises that she proposed?
I don't think we have to fully fund the clerk at this time, too. We can fund part of that now, then fund like we are in the sheriff's office and the jail. We're doing it in steps. I think we ought to do the clerk's office in steps, too, even though it's not a lot of money.
I got the impression from her that hers was a staged request. That was what those were the danger zones you felt you had. But, I mean, yeah, right, we don't have to, but I guess I would just, if $17,000 takes care of Madam Clerk, that leaves us $100,000.
Well, of course, I think she already has in her budget enough to do that, along with that,
Does she?
that filing fee increase. You're not even needing money out of, in addition to your budget.
I don't think so.
Well, that revenue is not in her budget, though.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
revenue is didn't that revenue come into the,
No, I mean, we have enough in appropriations in the clerk to cover that increase.
Oh, okay.
Without having to go into the 4%.
All right, so all we got to do there is just give her permission.
Yeah, and implement in January.
Okay.
okay.
The 176, I think, that you need to divide is really between the jail and the sheriff.
We're making progress. All right.
So there's enough money allocated in her salary budget to cover these already?
No, it's not in salary, but it's inside her department budget. We just need you to authorize to move it.
Okay.
So it's dollars that are assigned to something else. We think we're not going to need them. We can reassign them to her.
Exactly.
Oh, so
moved.
okay, all right. So within her budget, there's
Not within her revenue, but her appropriation.
I got you. Okay.
So, and then if we can agree on that, since all we got to do is move some money within her budget, we could establish that pay increase, put the clerk's office aside. We're done with their part, and now we're down to jail and sheriff, and it's 17,000 roughly. Do we?
And we have a statutory piece where we set salaries for the clerk prior to January 1.
Yes.
So it works, just timing is good in the clerk's office. So we'll set that her salary number for the calendar year in December for January 1. So it works good.
So
You had that in mind when you wrote your resolution, didn't you, Bill?
How hard would
always thinking.
how hard would it be for the clerk to have a salary schedule the way the sheriff's office does, so that we're not really funding a raise for a person, we're funding a raise for a position? How hard would it be to create a salary schedule in the clerk's office?
Well, whenever we had that other workshop, I think that's kind of what, I want to, like when I hire somebody in, start them at $13 an hour, then after their 6-month probationary period, raise them up 25 cents an hour. At the end of a year, another 25 cents, and then do 50 cents a year up to 5 years, and then do cost of living.
Okay.
And so I also think that, typically we don't go through the motion and voting and all in a workshop, but in this particular situation, it seems to me like it might be wise to kind of lock in on some of these things and do motions and votes and establish those. What do you think?
I think it needs to be done. I know it's been done, and like the jailer had one that's not been followed for the last 10 years. I mean, we need to get it, we have one opportunity to get it right, set it and get it right, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah. So,
The other element was that the sheriff's commitment to use some of his commissary funds to help pay some of what's now in our general fund. Is that figured in now, or are we going to wait and do that at the budget year? What, do you have a recommendation on that?
It's for you to decide how you want to handle that.
And that would be, I guess, in addition to the 4% revenue, wouldn't it?
Depends on how you want to handle that.
Well, I think we need to give him his money. I mean, if he's gonna give us $100,000 and pay it on an insurance or whatever, we need to return that $100,000.
let's, before we get too far, can we agree to do a motion on the clerk and we'll have that in the box?
Yes.
So who wants to do the motion?
What would the
Motion-
effective, what would the effective date
motion-
of that be?
Well, we'd be done with the clerk's office. It's a practical matter.
So you want to raise your starting pay to
$13 an hour.
$13 an hour, and then you want to be able to give them an increase
After 6 months,
6 months to
25 cents an hour.
$13.25. Is there any other adjustments you need to make? That's the only two now?
Well, like I said, then at the end of the year, I wanted to do another 25 cents.
Why don't we make it to ask for a salary schedule, per the clerk's salary schedule?
Well, she provided a schedule as to the people that are employed there now. The employees, I don't know, we've got lots
And
of
that's how I
papers.
figured it, like according to how long they had been here, as to how much to increase them.
The schedule, I think, increased everybody, well, I think all the employees by $1 an hour.
Except for one, but she had been here longer.
Yeah. You had one
Anybody
that
that
was-
had been here 5 years or less is who I was asking for the increase for.
Here it is.
It's $1 an hour, and then one employee was $2 an hour.
Oh,
Here, I got it.
So it would bring everybody in line then with your recommendation.
Correct.
And that 17,000, that would cover benefits and salary, right?
There it is.
Your recommendation here said to make those adjustments would be $11,340.
Yeah, 17,000.
Yeah, that would cover all of it then.
So but that didn't include benefits.
Right.
Okay, so we had the benefits
Right.
in. Okay. But that money's already in our budget, just need to move it around.
Well, couldn't the motion just be to adopt this?
Well, that's what I say. So, all right, so let's say we've got a clerk now who's worked 2 years. So her salary is going to be 13 plus 25 cents plus 25 cents plus 50 cents.
50 cents.
So you're creating a grid for anybody under 5 years.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So if my motion says we will adjust your starting salary at $13 an hour with a 25-cent increase for 6-month service, another 25 cents for a year service, 50 cents for 2 years service, 50 cents, another 50 cents for 3 years service, another 50 cents for 4 years service. Does
And
that
then
accomplish?
Yes, and then just cost of living after that.
That'll be cost of living is just separate.
Right.
That'll be handled by separate motion.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what you need the motion to say. Okay. All right, so I move. Is that what you want me to do, Judge?
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we adjust the county clerk's starting salary to $13 an hour and implement the following adjustments in pay with the service time of the employees at 6 months service, an additional 25 cents. After 1 year of service, another 25 cents. After 2 years of service, another 50 cents. After
Oh, wait, does that? Is that, maybe you're right, I thought you were saying 2 years twice.
Yeah.
1 year and then another year.
So then after 3 years, another 50 cents, and after 4 years, another 50 cents. That's my motion.
All right,
I'll second it.
discussion?
Second it.
Okay, got a second, discussion? No further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? That carries then.
I feel like a rapper. And another one.
And then we'll have to,
So we have an action to take in January to set the salaries for the year, and then in sometime in late December, early January, there'll be an actual series of orders that puts names and those amounts in action, so.
Okay.
and are they effective immediately? I mean, whatever she, or is it January 1st?
Well, it's January 1st.
January, the resolution says everything goes into.
January.
Okay.
So, yeah, my
Not January.
motion meant
1st,
January.
First pay period.
Okay. And then we'll have to amend her budget to move some money around to get it in the salary schedules, is that right?
Yeah, okay, easy enough.
So we'll follow this up with a formal order?
Yes,
Okay.
because we have to have pay orders for how much to pay people.
Okay.
Okay, so that's got the clerk down then. And then, we got the similar information, but even more detail from the sheriff and jail, different pay grades and year of service and all that. Is the, any reason why we wouldn't, do we need to discuss some, those documents? Do anybody have a question about that pay and grade at any level, or can we agree that those asks, those requests are, seem appropriate, necessary, and if so, then we would just proceed to how we're going to take the money that we set forth in the resolution and divide it out 2 ways.
I just had one question on the jailer's salary. Okay. So your jailer, your part-time wage is
He's coming up.
okay. $14 an hour.
Yeah.
I guess that seems like maybe an area that might be ripe if we, I'm just thinking if I'm a retired city police officer, that might be an attractive hire for you, and I'm wondering if there's a reason why we might give more flexibility, that a part-time person might actually make more than a full-time person, because it might be in our best interest to pay a part-time person more than a full-time person.
And what we have been doing, that has been the case. We've been hiring a standard deputy at $12 an hour and a part-time at $14 an hour, since we don't have the benefits that go with them. As this gets adjusted, yes, I agree, that probably does need to be adjusted, but that hasn't been our focus. We only have 3, and I have 5 spots for it, and only 3 of them are filled.
Okay.
There's not as many retired police officers want to work at the jail as you'd think there are.
Well, bump that pay up a little bit. Does that need to be factored into what we're doing, or is that just something, does he have to have authority to increase his part-time salary?
Well, when as David has thoughtfully prepared an ordinance, when we implement that ordinance, that will include what part-timers get paid, and then when he actually hires someone, and there's a pay order, we'll fill in that amount. But what you're saying is, we've discussed that, yes, if it is in our interest, if we can do that. Presents operational issues and difficulties with part-time staff. So the focus, as he has said, has been on improving the pay of the full-timers. But yes.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're all on this.
You all have a
Same
copy
page.
of the ordinance that I sent you, right? We've made a few small revisions as far as training and stuff goes, so before you actually, if you're gonna vote on that, then I'd like to get that one too, but there's,
Well, I don't think we're going to get into the ordinances.
I didn't think we were either, so that's why I didn't send it out to you. I figured that would probably be a little further down the road.
It'll take some digging around and getting the wording right and all that.
Right.
So our intent today is to give the staff the information they need on how much we're going to increase salaries. Then they'll come back with an ordinance that's specific on how much the sheriff gets, how much
Yep.
the jail gets, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we're not going to approve any salaries today. They'll go through the 178
Right,
and
so
recommend
the-
how to allocate that.
The amounts will trickle into the ordinances, and then they will bring you individual orders for who gets what.
Okay.
But we gotta know what
So
the
the
amount
first,
is.
the first step then will be to do the ordinance. The second step will be to do individuals, to bring them up to comply with the ordinance.
Right. Once we know how much you're gonna put into each bank.
So all you need to know today is we're going to do 178,000. And then you'll come back later.
You also need to know how much for the respective departments.
Okay.
Anything else?
So well, hang on. I'm just going to throw a number out there.
All right.
So let's say we got $117,000, but you've got this other fund. We can either split this in two, which would be 56 to each department, right? Or if we did 67 to the sheriff and 50 to you, with the expectation that you would get that back. We'd make up that difference in July. I guess I'm just trying to start a conversation on money. Are you going to be like, no, it needs to be 50-50, and by the way, I'm bringing my
100 with it.
100 with it. That's what I'd say if I were you.
I'm honestly, I mean,
Huh?
obviously, we want to do as well as we can, but I'm going to leave that decision up to you all. How do you divvy up the money? I don't want to get, I'm not going to step on Matt's toes, and I don't think he'd do the same. I mean, that's really up to you all how you split it up. I'm going to put 100 with whatever it is we get, so, and I'll make it work.
Well,
Technically, what you're going to do is put 100 in the budget, because you can't put
Correct.
the commissary money into salary.
I'll put it in the
You put it
medical.
in the budget, and the money,
Correct.
whatever we use that money for, would then go
Yes.
to the salary.
a great day for us would be if you say, all right, that'd be fine, and we'll do 150 to the jail, and we'll do 67 to the sheriff, and then we'll try and look at things a little differently. We'll have that $17,000 in the back of our mind when we go into our budget. You happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Anybody unhappy with that?
What,
Sheriff's face red back there, and
I broke
What
my
do you-
glasses
what
on
do
the
you
way
say
in. I
again?
can't see, Sheriff.
what do you say give the sheriff's department again?
67 of the 117.
And how much we giving the jail?
50.
Plus the 100?
Well, he's throwing 100 in, and we're going to give that back to him. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the sheriff's department's gonna be able to do very much with what they're getting, to be honest with you. If you give them 60,000 and a third of it goes for pensions, and they're getting $40,000.
Well, no,
That's what we're basically doing.
No,
No,
that's just
the
salary.
117
That's
is
actual
just the
salary.
salaries.
No?
Yeah.
That's wages.
Yeah, yeah, there's
So-
117 for salary, 59 for the benefits. It's a split.
It's still 60,000, I mean,
well, 67.
67.
Well,
Just-
and remember, the sheriff splits it among fewer people. His ends up being less per person, his ends up being more per person.
The reality is, though, he would only get an additional $50,000 on January 1st, because if we put $100,000 in, that's going to translate to $200,000 for a full year salary, isn't it?
I didn't follow you.
If we give them $100,000 to increase salaries on January 1st, we're only going to have $50,000 reimbursed if we've spent half of the money already on medical costs. We've already spent money on
I'm
medical.
sorry, you're talking jail.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, you're talking jail on the 100.
Yeah, the jail, yeah. If we put $100,000 in the jail with the commitment that his budget will be reduced by that amount for funds he's going to pay out of the commissary fund, that would translate for a full year to $200,000.
No.
Right.
When he says he can put in 100,000, that will only mean we'll get 50 this year.
Right.
Because it's 100,000
Okay.
a year, there's only half a year
Right.
left. The 176 that you're moving, that's the annual number you're increasing.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't allocate that amount of money for 6 months, and then if we have to make it up for a full year, it's going to double it. You understand that point?
If it helps any, what I plan on doing is I plan on making basically the medical payment for 4 months, which is 28,000 and some change. So it's a little over 100,000 that I was willing to do. And we still have more than 4 months left in this fiscal year. So I can do it in this fiscal year and then do it again next fiscal year.
What do you reckon? I'm sorry.
Does that help then?
Yes.
Well, yeah, that helps a lot. That's 50,000 more than what we.
I guess I'm thinking we got a couple options: interlocal agreement, which is a little more complicated. We got to send it all up to the Department of Local Government to have them approve it, or we just do a memorandum of understanding. You okay with doing a memorandum of understanding, and how long can we count on this?
Told you, as long as they don't cut out the e-cigs, then I mean, I'm good with it as long as I'm juggling.
So the
If they did, I have other options, but it's going to cut into the profits.
as I recall, this fund grosses about $280 a year,
Got 375.
$375 a year.
Now, where'd the 50 and 76 come from? Is that the numbers you're?
50 and 67.
50 and 67, okay.
So I took 117 and I backed off 50 for the jail, and it left
Okay.
67.
All right, I heard you wrong.
So you're willing to pay,
What was the number again? 375.
David, you're willing to pay 100,000 this year, even though the year's half gone?
Yes. If
And
it'll help get them
100,000
what
again
they
next
need.
fiscal year.
Yes.
So for the next 4 months, you're willing to pay 25 or 28,000 a month, whatever it is. So then we really have 217 to play with, correct? Steve?
How much per month?
28,000 a month. you said.
It's 26,
You say
28.
25,000,
Do you know
that's
right around
100,000.
28?
28
28 some change.
So what if we wrote our memorandum of understanding that you would do the $100,000 a year, but not more than 30% of your gross annual take? And right now, 100,000 is 26.6%. That,
Sounds good.
okay.
Is that right, Steve?
You do it times 4 times 6.
Huh?
It's easier to think of, or at least for me, that if we're triggering everything to start on January 1, and his commitment, it really doesn't matter if you look at it over 6 months or a year, the figure's the same.
But he's saying he's willing to give 100,000 over the next 4 months, and then the next fiscal year do it again. And I guess every fiscal year after that. So,
Well, if you do that, then in the next fiscal year, 100,000 over 12 months is a smaller number.
it's still 100,000.
Yeah,
So we have 217 right now instead of,
but you can't put that all into salary and then half of it disappears on July 1.
so how much do we have right now with him putting in? What do we have to do divvy at with him putting in 100,000?
Don't focus on the annual. Are you talking an annual amount?
Well, he said he's gonna do it over the next 4 months, and it would be in this fiscal year.
I don't know. I'd have to put pen and spreadsheet to it.
Well, assuming it figures the way that the 176,000 does, that's roughly, you said 117 is 2/3?
Yeah.
Then the other third goes to benefits, so if you took the 100 I put in and put 2/3 of that towards salary and 1/3 towards benefits, that would, wouldn't that come out about right?
117,
So 66.
63. That sound right? Y'all got another number?
And the money we're going to allocate will be increasing salaries on an annual basis and not just for 6 months, is that right?
Right.
Okay.
But he's willing to give a year's worth over the next 4 months.
Are you over there drawing up something?
Yeah,
Is it good?
yes.
It's worth waiting for then?
So that make, if that,
Well,
oh, you think 180,000?
I've got this auctioneer over here on my right here, and I can't tell if
I'm trying to
he's.
figure out how much money we have. I mean, well, we need to know what we got to play with.
So if we just basically agreed that we've got 117,000 after benefits to appropriate, and we're going to appropriate $67,000 to the sheriff's office and $50,000 to the jailer staff of the 4%. And then, in addition, in exchange for a memorandum of understanding, we will make salary adjustments plus benefits of 100,000, because we haven't done the math on that, right? So it won't be 100,000. It'll be
66.
right 100,000 in exchange for that memorandum of understanding that he'll contribute $100,000 from the commissary fund to the general fund for items that the auditor will accept, and that will never ask you to do more than 30% of the gross receipts of the commissary fund annually,
Why do you want to put that 30% limit on there?
because he wants to protect himself from e-cigarettes. And I don't want to create a situation where all of a sudden the state has said we can't do e-cigarettes again, and he comes in and says, well, deal's over. So I'd rather it be a percentage, because something will follow e-cigarettes. I mean, if you're not selling e-cigarettes, you'll be selling Doritos.
Correct.
Or chewing gum.
How's that sound? What about Sheriff? Anything you think right on?
Basically, we've just been, we've worked hard at putting a spreadsheet together. We're just lacking the numbers that you all come up with. As soon as, we've got it ready. As soon as I know a number, we can plug it in and present to you within 10 minutes of where the money would go and why we feel that the need for the money to go where it's going.
Well, so that's what I was getting to a while ago before we started this is to me, these two gentlemen, this lady, they're constitutionally elected officers. They run their departments, and I'm not comfortable with sitting there and saying, here's where I want you to spend this 10,000. I want it to go here and here. I don't know. I know a little bit about being a police officer, but I don't know anything about being a jailer or a clerk. And so I think, in principle, we give them wide latitude once we come up with the numbers we think are appropriate, and given that they've laid out this framework that I think looks very reasonable, the pay and grade over a period of time, not and I do think it would be nice to get it from the clerk as to positions rather than persons, because that, you know, can bring accusations or allegations of favoritism or this person got something because of who they are or whatever. But, you know, them having provided this framework, and if we see nothing, no issues with it, why we would not just, if it's the 67 and 50 or whatever we land on, say, okay, here's your money, it's your baby, you know what are the appropriate levels, positions to put that at, and we don't. I just don't have the knowledge of doing that, and I respectfully don't think any of you do either. Respectfully. And so that's what you're talking about, is if you know what number you're gonna get, you can plug it in, and I guess you're saying you can come back, but I wouldn't need you to come back. I just need you to go to work. But maybe y'all differ.
Yeah.
I think we need a schedule on every department. They need to stick to it. Something that's not been done in the past, and we need to make sure we fund it to the best of our abilities, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, I certainly think we need to affirm to the public that we've solved the $14 an hour starting jailer, or $12, wasn't it? $12 an hour starting jailer dime, and we've solved the $33,000 deputy sheriff starting salary. I know those are two numbers that you've told the public, we've told the public, and we want to be able to tell the public we fixed those numbers.
I guess, of course, this 176 we're talking about, or 117 without just pure salary, it's obviously not going to be flat 176,000. It's going to be some change, or it might be 174, it might be 180, or somewhere in there. So I don't know how we exactly put that. I guess we could do a percentage.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
We can't lock in and say they get 67 and they get 50. I don't. If we can calculate what percentage of 117 or the 170.
So looks like 57%, 57.25%, and for the sheriff's office, and then what, 42.75 for the jail. That work?
So what do you think? Does that sound?
And the intent is to handle the lower salary people in this first increase. Is that what you both intend to do, or do you intend to give increases across the board?
Well, for us, one of the major dilemmas that we've been looking at is our pay disparity in-house. And I can tell you, just to equal our pay in-house is going to be $170,000. Why and how it has gotten so off kilter over the years, I can't explain. But it would take $170,000 just to get equal pay and to fix the in-house disparity, such as years of experience. A lot of that fell off once they hit the 4-year mark, and then it was just a COLA. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons as to where that maybe got off. But ultimately, and I'm just looking at the big picture, if we don't fix that, we've got to fix that at some point somehow, or this thing's just going to continue to be off course. And I think we also have to project, and we'll certainly do, we've done it, to set up more of like a 1 to 5 year officer, a 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and 20 to 25, and to make each one of those brackets an equal pay. Now, there's going to be a slight difference based upon shift differentials and specialized training, things of that nature. But as far as overall, to get that balanced, and one of the things that we've been discussing, just myself and some of my administrators, is depending on how much money will be available this first go around, what we do with that. just answering your question quickly, I think that for morale purposes, it's going to be better suited to divide that more of a percentage across the board to bring everybody up. And then hopefully there'll be more money in July to start, fixing that at the lower levels. But we'll look at that several different ways and certainly do what we think is most appropriate. I don't think we can just throw money at the starting pay only and not do anything for the ones there, because some of the ones that we've lost in the past year or so has been a higher paid grade, but they still were able to go elsewhere and make significantly more. So I just want to be fair with all of my men and women to try to go about this, as fairly as we can.
And that's considered, because you told us your high three is a bigger concern you have right now, and I think, Taylor, you told us you don't have the high three problem. You've got a starting pay salary. So if I sounded limited, I guess when you asked for a seat at the table, and I'm kind of like the judge, how you guys
We'll take what you provide us, and I don't think that we would have argument from anyone on how we're projecting to provide that out, and I think everyone would agree with an open mind that it's very reasonable.
So will you leave here with heartburn with the number we're proposing?
If you propose any amount, I'm going to leave happier than I came. So, it is what it is. I mean, you only have a certain amount that you can provide in January. I would echo what David said. I mean, the jail is in need. We're in need. The clerk's office was in need. So, we've just got to work together and try to come up with the best resolution possible for everybody.
Well, and so we're meeting two important goals. One is we're dealing with something that we know, within a small margin of error, that we're going to get around that 176 in revenue, as opposed to we don't know if we're going to be low or high on our estimates. Where are we going to be in January? And certainly January of 2022. And hopefully we'll be in good shape, and we can make further adjustments and meet all the what I think are more aspirational and wishful things. But maybe and I hope I'm wrong. I hope obviously that we've got more revenue than I feel like we can, but we're being conservative by dealing with known revenue amounts, getting them to the people that need these salary increases, and then we come along later and look at what we know in the future, or what we have with time will be, at least, we may not know, but we'll certainly be closer, have more information to more accurately predict these things. And then we're giving this money to the elected officers of these departments, these agencies, and saying, here's your money, you know how best to use it, we don't. And so I think it's a good outcome if that's where we land.
This probably, obviously won't happen at this meeting, but the only other thing that I would respectfully request is, I know it's a projection, but the sooner that maybe you all could provide the breakdown in this total amount for the big picture, I think it would help both of us, so that we could start to formulate what that pay scale looks like, and we could project out as we move from January to July to the following year of 22.
Yeah, we can do that.
David, would you be willing to make this memorandum of understanding 4 years in length?
I can guarantee it until
I
his term's up.
I realize your term is up. If we write it 4 years, and then we'll deal with it. Yeah, but
Right.
I feel confident you're going to be the next jailer. In fact, I'll give you my endorsement.
Somebody may deal with it, may not be us.
Particularly if you keep doing this, understand it. But I think that puts the fiscal court in a good position of understanding that in 4 years this might not be there, so they've got four times to deal with this.
Right.
In order to replace this $100,000 of income.
Will your memorandum specify that it's only the medical cost, or that they will pay up to $100,000 or the percentage in eligible costs from the,
Yeah, I think eligible costs is
I would prefer it worded that way.
eligible.
yeah.
That way, in case something shifts with laws or whatever,
Yeah.
then we could still.
But if they were able to change the law that they continue to get Medicaid or Medicare or
Right.
insurance benefits, then that would, okay.
As far as us distributing the money, if it makes you feel any better, the proposed ordinance that I'd sent you all, that's what I would be using to distribute the money, that pay scale that's in there, in anticipation of hoping this will work. It's a pay structure that we haven't had for 15 years that we need. And so it's based on people's time, experience, training, et cetera.
Okay. So,
All right.
we'll make that motion?
Yeah, so I think maybe we can make it this simple. We can say, I move that we allocate our the 4% increase of revenue in a percentage of 57.25% to the sheriff's office and 42.75% to the jail staff, and authorize the county judge executive to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding with the jailer, in which the jailer will agree to contribute $100,000 annually beginning January 1 of 2021. And these salaries are the same date. For eligible to the county budget for eligible cost. Well, I guess I'd say $100,000 are not more than 30% of the annual gross receipts of the previous year, or of that year. We'll say of that year, because we'll be able to gross annual receipts of the commissary fund for that year.
Were those percentages right? You had a higher percentage for the sheriff than the jail.
Right, 57.25 and 42.75.
I thought we were going to give more to the jail than the.
We are. We're given, and I guess I didn't get to that part. In exchange, there'll be $100,000 in addition.
And I think how we're probably going to structure that is he will actually pay bills up to that.
Yeah, that's how I have to do it.
He has to, yeah.
Yeah, and in exchange, then there's going to be $100,000 of salary plus benefits added to the jail staff. Did a horrible job with this motion, Judge.
I think the intent of the motion is clear, but we probably need an order later on to codify that, don't we?
Yeah, we'll work on
Okay.
Yeah.
it. We have
We're all in favor of what we just kind of just said, right?
Whatever that was.
Yeah.
Well, we're not prepared to, I guess maybe language needs a little more finesse, but massage,
But we're all okay with the percentage for the 4%, and we're all okay with the memorandum of understanding of the $100,000. And the net effect of that is you're going to get $150,000, or you're going to get $50,000 plus $100,000 minus benefits. Yeah.
okay.
Well, the question again was on your percentages. You said it was 57% to the sheriff's office. It's 57% to the jail, isn't it?
No. So it's 57% of the 4%. Because of the 117, the jailers or the sheriff's getting 67,000, and of that money, the jail is only getting 50,000.
Okay.
I just want to make sure when we leave here today, if we're not going to vote on that and have it in writing, that everybody understands what we're.
I'm just an auctioneer, but I'm good.
All right. So, is there anything else we need to do?
Probably.
What do you want to do?
I don't know what it is, but there's probably something else we need to do.
I don't know
Well, if
anything.
there's anything you've missed, you're meeting again in one business day. Monday.
Oh, yeah, we are. Man. All right.
All right.
Are we ready to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Go make.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Opposed, no. All right, we adjourn. Good job.